Okay, so today is our first lecture, and the lecture name is Engagement Responsibilities. This is the unit 1. Broadly, we are going to discuss the attest engagements, audit engagements, then the additional professional services, assurance services, and the quality controls. Before I proceed, let me just make you a little clear about what we are going to discuss. Suppose if you are an audit firm, and surely external audit is the prime aim to be the audit firm. But as you more interact with the client, so clients start asking for some other services. He says, okay, because you know accounts, so let's have something in internal control, internal audit. Then they comes up with some specific engagements also, that this is the feasibility study, valuations. Then gradually if they need some software, so because they believe you are more into the accounts and understanding of the business, so they will try to involve you in the implementation of ERP systems, and then they can involve you in HR consultancy also. If they are looking for a CFO, financial controller, so they will say you, okay, if you know someone, can you suggest them to us? So it gives it shows that the audit firm has a lot of roles, which becomes apart from their main roles. Now, according to ICPA, or in terms of our, you can say, the public practices, that we have to be very clean and careful about the integrity of the firm and the fairness and objectivity of the work itself. So we should clean ourselves in a sense that people cannot object on us that we are obliging the client, because client is giving us a lot of work, and it consists of a huge fee. So maybe somewhere we feel that we are giving him a little favor. We are not that fair or honest and independent that we should be. So according to today our lecture is making very clear that what we can do as a firm, CPA firm or a CPA member, or what we cannot. Then you heard about consultancy also. One term is the consultancy. One is the term that is assurance. So we have to create a clear line between all these three services. Being an external auditor, of course, the main duty is to express your opinion on the financial statements. This is mandatory every year. The external auditor will come, he'll give you some opinions. So apparently you have attestation ability and attestation power after reviewing or the visiting and making an opinion about the client itself. Then it would be a consultancy role, which is to advise the client. In short term, consultancy is for the advice. And assurance is something which is increasing the reliability of the information, reliability of your control procedure, or if the client is looking for some assurance, means that he wants to put more emphasis on that particular area, and you as the member is going to give him the more reliability about the functionality in a sense. So consultancy, attestation, and the audit, these are three different things. We will start our discussion from attesting, then we will talk about audit engagements, and what other additional professional services, as I told you, that the IT, human resource, and hiring of recommending someone, so investment decisions, involvements, these kind of other services, what is allowed to be a firm or what is not to be allowed. And assurance services, I will show that this is for the additional, this is for the quality improvement enhancement, that if you need some assurance for any purposes. For example, Management is a little curious about the way the commissions are calculated in the company. So, but the auditor has checked the internal control system is very fine, but they need more assurance. So it will be a specific engagement that will be designed, and the purpose would be to make it very clear and to get the true sense of the mechanism and the function. And every firm should have a quality control system. It has certain components that your company should have a leadership abilities in terms of audit. Then you should have a monitoring procedures, keep continuous improvement monitoring of and defining your policies and procedures. So let's start the attestation. Now, first of all, there are some terms you should be very clear about. First of all, the statement on standards for attestation are codified in 80 of the professional standards. Now, AICPA issues SAS, that is auditing services, for SSAR is for compilation and review, and SSCS is for consulting. Being a CPA firm, we need guidelines should be given by AICPA, that what is consultancy, what is assurance, what is the attestation, what is our domain where we can work, which is not our domain, we cannot take up, we have to give it to someone. These all are the guidelines issued. And what is the SAS, that is statement on auditing standard. Then what is SSAR is statement on standards for accounting and review services. And SSCS is a statement on standard for consulting services. Now, as we know, there is an Act Sarbanes-Oxley that was introduced in 2002 after some corporate scandals came into being, and they put a lot of, they give a lot of guidelines in terms of how to run the corporations. And they introduced the corporate governance in a deep sense. So, and they say, okay, we have to make an audit committee, policies, procedure, non-executive director has to be brought in to create an independence in the corporations. Same way, there is another board, that is PCA AUD, that is Public Companies Accounting Oversight Board. This board issues the guidelines for all CPA firms. In fact, all CPA firms are directly guided by the PCAOB. And Sarbanes-Oxley gives the broader outlines for the corporate governance. Look at this. It will be the summary of what we are going to discuss just now in next half an hour. There are two kinds of standards. One is the attestation standards and one is the auditing standards. Auditing standards are issued by GAS, like the accounting standards are issued by GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. Same way we have GAS, that is generally accepted auditing standards. So this is GAS and this is the attestation standards. Now, broadly, three types of standards we can see. One is the general standards. The second is the statement of field work. And the third is standard of reporting. Broadly, generally, everyone should have training and proficiency in attestation, same way training and proficiency in auditing. Knowledge of subject matter should be there in attestation. Suitable criterions, independence in mental attitude, and due professional care has to be taken while you are going to engage yourself in an attestation assignment. Opposite to that, if you are going for an auditing assignment, training and proficiency is must. Independence should be there in the mental attitude, and you have to show due professional care, your professional skepticism, your knowledgeability towards the work. Now, once you come in the field, and once you have all the basic ingredients to go for an audit or attestation, then you should have a planning and supervision, and for that you have to gather the sufficient evidences. For the auditing, you should have a planning, sufficient understanding of internal controls, sufficient appropriate audit evidences. In the typical auditing background, we know that auditor, first of all, he has certain approaches. He can start from the balance sheet, he can review the asset, liability, the capital, balance sheet approach for the audit. Then there is the income statement approach. He can take the income and take the expenses. Then he can go for a detailed vouchering of the invoicing if you want a complete test of all the transactions. And sometimes he can use the analytical procedures. He can see the 2009 versus 2010 movement in inventory, in stock, in the receivables, in payables. So he can analyze in a way that gives him a picture that what could be the trend of this audit and the organizational operations and activity. Then as a must part of the audit responsibility is that he has to comment on the internal control of the organization. First of all, he will apply the test of internal controls. For that, he can physically observe, he can see the manuals, policies, procedures, compliance, and how they are going to follow this one. This all is the domain in terms of test of control. Then he has to see the materiality, he has to see the compliance with the local laws, with the gaps, with the other regulatory bodies. That is the part in terms of reports. So for attestation, the character of engagement, conclusion about what he is thinking, we know about qualifying, unqualified, except for disclaimer, this is certain options we will keep discussing about. Significant reservations, any restriction on use, limitation of scope, anything that we have. Now, for auditing, conformity with the gaps, that the policies are consistent, it's a going concern, matching principles, revenue is recognized, inventory valuation is according to the standards, and any kind of significant event has been disclosed post balance sheet, after balance sheet events, and any adjusting, non-adjusting events, any significant movements, everything has been disclosed in the reports. Principal consistency, then informative disclosure reasonably adequate, any depletion, impairment, review. Then he can have if they have patents, then patents, goodwill, or any kind of accounting standard things are in line. An expression of an opinion, it could be a qualified opinion that is a bad opinion, that it's qualified for the fraud, or an unqualified opinion is that this is a clean report. And sometimes he used to emphasize some paragraph that okay, everything is okay except for this is the